My mother came from a family that lived in the same, they both were, at the time I was born, they both lived in the same county. My mother came from a family of 10 children. They lived in a log cabin out on a 60-acre farm that her father inherited from her grandfather. Her grandfather came to Canada from Ireland when they had one of their potato famines, and they didn't have enough food to feed all the kids, so the father and three boys came to Canada, and the grandfather was a cabin boy on the boat, and the two brothers were older, and his father was older. And, they came to Brockville, Ontario, which is the end of the St. Lawrence River that you could navigate at that time before they put in the St. Lawrence Seaway. And so it was, at the time they came, it was the fifth most populous city on the North American continent. And it was someplace in the neighborhood of 5,000 people in 1860. He lived in Brockville, and when the Civil War started, my grandfather went to Cleveland, Ohio. He used to work and sail on the Great Lakes. And he went to Cleveland, Ohio, and joined the 5th Ohio Cavalry and fought most of the Civil War in Virginia. And as a result of people who were not American citizens at the time, if they fought in the Civil War, they got American citizenship, and they got, so much money at the end. He took his opportunity to fight in the Civil War, and he got his American citizenship. And his wife's brother was a carpenter, and he lived in Stanton, Michigan, a little city in the central part of Michigan. And the brother kept writing to his wife and talking about what a nice little area this was. So he moved his family and wife, and at the time he had, I think, 2 children, and which was my mother's father, who was born in Canada, and so they moved to Stanton, Michigan, and the grandfather used to, he'd sail boats on the Great Lakes. And he must have been, I've tried to find whether he was a captain or some officer, but I haven't been able to locate the records. We know the unit he fought in, and the unit saw a lot of combat because it was in Virginia, and that was where most of in that sector of the war, there was a lot of fighting there. And he was in the battle for between 4 and 5 years. And then he came back, he came back to Ohio and mustered out. Then he moved to Michigan, and he used to go sail in the summertime and on the Great Lakes, and then in the wintertime he'd come in Stanton. Now, I've tracked the family records, and he bought a lot of land, so I'm pretty sure that he couldn't have purchased as much land as he was purchasing if he was just a crewman, because I don't think he'd had enough economic wherewithal to buy as much land as he did.
And what was his name?
Nathaniel Percy.